Let's take a look at the binomial distribution for the safety recall example in StatCrunch. Okay, so for part A, we wanted to find the probability that the number of adults who would still consider a car despite the product/safety recalls is exactly one, more than one, and at most one. So previously I did all three of those in the calculator. Well, StatCrunch has a binomial calculator as well as a normal calculator and other probability distribution calculators that are really helpful and easy to use. So what I want to do for part A, the probability x takes on exactly 1, I want to click on Stat, and my first option is Calculators, and here are the built-in probability calculators that StatCrunch offers. I'm going to click on Binomial, and let me shift the screen a little bit. Here we go. Okay, so when it opens up, it defaults to n is equal to 10, p is equal to 0.5, and with x being less than or equal to 5. That's not the situation for this problem. Recall from the problem, n was 20 adults, and the probability of success in a single trial was 0.68. And for part A, I want to find the probability x is exactly 1. So you'll see right here, I can change the sense of inequality with this little drop down. Okay, so I'm going to change that to exactly equal to 1, and then compute. Okay, so remember from the calculator, it gave a really small probability in terms of scientific notation. Okay, again, you want to rewrite that with correct scientific notation. In other words, that's about 5.39 times 10 to the negative 9th power. Okay, now for part B, the question asks for the probability x is more than 1. So remember when I did this by hand, writing out the sense of inequality, more than 1 did not include the 1. So I had to use complementary events. More than 1 was the same thing as saying the probability of x is less than or equal to 1, and then subtract that from 1. So that would be 1 minus the probability x is less than or equal to 1. That was what we had to do for the workaround for the calculator, because the calculator only had the cumulative distribution option. So it's actually a little bit easier in StatCrunch. The probability that we get more than 1 we can get directly from StatCrunch. I don't have to subtract from 1. I can just put in probability x is greater than 1. Okay, now if you recall from the calculator, we got a really high probability. Okay, so this should be pretty much the same value that we got from the calculator. Part C was at most 1. Now we can get this directly from the calculator using the cumulative distribution function in there. Remember, that's the sum of the two probabilities x is equal to 0 plus the probability x is equal to 1. Well, StatCrunch has the less than or equal to option also. Okay, so at most 1 includes the 1, so I'm going to change that sense of inequality to less than or equal to, and then compute. Oh, it already did it. Okay, so again, I have a really small probability. That's about 5.51 times 10 to the negative 9. Now, one thing that is really neat about StatCrunch that isn't an option in the calculator is that I can find probabilities between two x values. Okay, so what if I wanted to know what's the probability of randomly selecting an adult, randomly selecting between 2 and 5 adults. Okay, so I could select between instead and change the endpoints to 2 and 5. Okay, so that would be asking for the probability that I get between 2 and 5 adults inclusive. Now, unfortunately, we can't change these inequalities here, so it only encompasses the inclusive case for these endpoints, but still that's a feature that the calculator doesn't have. Again, I can click on compute. Now at home when you're doing this, you'll see that the histogram that is generated will shade the area or change the area in question to a different color. Okay, so the bars on your own computer should be highlighted in red between x is equal to 2 and x is equal to 5. Okay, so that would be down here in this lower tail. Unfortunately, when I'm recording, the software somehow disables that functionality. But if you were to do this at home, you would see that the histogram is indicating the correct area that corresponds to the probability.